Welcome. Welcome to the Law, Your Money, and You, to another exciting adventure amid COVID by way of Zoom. I'm Roberta, Saphire, an attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Camille Barron. I'm a healthcare advisor and financial coordinator, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And we are fortunate today to have one of our greatest supporters, not only herself, but her son, who's been a wonderful supporter of our coloring books. I'm going to let you do the introductions, Roberta.
Oh, great. I mean, this is a privilege. She actually has two sons who are fantastic. But anyway, one of them, which the one you're talking about, Shayak, has been in the coloring book 2 editions now. Every 2 years, we're watching him grow up. But Rumni Saha, who we have today, is an educator. She puts together packages, and like she did one for the church on how to deal with difficult people. It was a few years ago. And she's always doing something interesting and good for the public. She's laughing. Rumni, we're going to start with, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, sure. Thank you for that introduction. Very kind words, but then what can I expect from you? You're always way too kind. But so I'm Rumni. I have been an educator, like you said, for the last 21 years. Out of those, I worked for the last 15 in Canton. I'm a next door neighbor. I was the special educator, was one of the special educators for the middle school. And I love my job. It's been a very difficult decision for sure, but I knew that I just needed to do something not different, but it was just a calling, and I was feeling that my job was becoming more of a job than really something that my heart was calling me to.
And excuse me, did the COVID crisis have anything to do with your decision? Because the last month or so, were you doing classes by Zoom?
So COVID? No, the COVID crisis just reaffirmed my decision. It just made me just believe that what I have been wanting to do was absolutely what I needed to do. But no, I had applied to, BU and Harvard starting, I think, end of last summer. So I was kind of inching towards it, and I got accepted. And actually, I did tell my principal that I was going to be leaving right before all this happened, but I was going to finish up the school year. And, but like I said, and, I reevaluating that, is this what I need to do? Because I miss my students and I miss teaching one-on-one. We were teaching, but it was online. But, more than anything, I felt that this is the right decision. Just seeing how so many people, they were not able to see family members. Sometimes the only connection, between the families and the patients were really the chaplains and the healthcare workers. And I felt that this is exactly what I needed to hear. As sad as it was, like the timing of it was not the best, not to be able to have some kind of closure. But I definitely feel and felt that, like I said, it just reaffirmed my wanting to become a hospital chaplain.
Tell us your vision. What do you envision yourself doing once you finish school?
So Camille and Roberta, you guys know that I've been very involved with Cops for Kids with Cancer. So this is a wonderful organization that my friend, who is the Assistant Chief of Police in Canton, Helena Rafferty, some people know her as Finland. So she runs, she's the president, and it is an amazing organization that deals with, families and children who are going through cancer. So for me, I feel like it's really the path that I've chosen is really not that different from special education, really, being with kids. And I do definitely, I wouldn't say I just want to work with kids, but I do want to work with people and families that are struggling. And, whether it's at the Children's Hospital or, in a cancer, one of the cancer institutions in Boston, I guess, hospitals. So that's what I just envision myself being there and just holding people's hands. Hopefully by then the COVID will be, not something that we need to contend with. and just listening and just helping people going through the worst of times.
What are some of the skills you think that you'll be learning in Divinity School that will help you do this?
What are some of the skills? So essentially, it's funny because I often say that I am an atheist. And an atheist going to divinity school, that it's in itself is a paradox. But the thing is that the more I'm learning, and I belong to the Unitarian Church in Sharon, which is, all about social justice and of course about spirituality. And I feel like even the classes that I'm taking right now, I was kind of, in the beginning, I was a little averse and thought, oh my God, faith and money. What do those two have in common? The more I'm reading about all these and about the Torah and the Bible and the Hindu scriptures, it's the foundations are exactly the same. It's about helping people, no matter what your color, your creed, your caste. None of that really applies. So for me, just learning that the religious aspect, but also seeing how deeply spiritual those are. It's us human beings who really distorted everything to kind of meet our own needs. But the essence is what, not just in a hospital setting, that's how, you need to take those essence and just treat people if you live by your faith, no matter what you are, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whether you're Jewish, honestly, you will be doing the biggest service to humanity. So I feel like learning those, that's just deepening my faith, really. My faith towards humanity. So
describe these courses, like how many years are there and what are they going to do? When do you start?
So the funny thing is that, Roberta, when I graduated from Boston University, this was 22 years ago in 1999. And I got my master's in education. That was really less than a year. Granted, I took a ton of courses. So I had a baby then. So, I just needed to get it done. So that was a Master of Education program, less than a year. The Master of Divinity program, again, a master's program, is 3 years full-time. So there's a lot that I need to cover.
2 years.
3 years, not 2 years.
3 years? The Divinity School is 3 years?
Absolutely. Yep. So the first year, you really learn about all the religions, whether it's Buddhism, it's Christianity, it's, the Torah. So in the second year also, you're learning about, dealing with, just spirituality and learning about philosophies and religion. And the third year is where, it's really what your path is going to be. So for me, it's a hospital chaplaincy. So I would be doing a lot of like how to counsel and people and dealing with grief. So a lot of courses on end of life, so just about family support. So the last year is really geared towards whether you want to be a minister, you want to be a chaplain, it's the path that you're going to be. So it's very specific. But the first 2 years essentially is about religion. And for me, honestly, it's I just want to learn. It's not that when I say, oh, I don't have faith in anything. I do have faith in you. I have faith in us. I feel like we can all do so much better than what we do. And I feel like it's important to know how this is not something that I am construing. This is what the Bible lays down for you, that you are supposed to be helping each other. You're supposed to be treating everybody with dignity, and equality. So I feel like it's as I would consider myself a truth seeker. Like I want to know what's there, and I wish I have more faith. With everything that's going on, you feel like you question everything. So I'm just there. I don't even know, like I said, the faith, the money and faith, I felt like, oh my God. And the things that I've learned from that particular class that I've been taking over the summer, it's mind-boggling. And I was putting it off because I was like, oh God, I don't want to deal with money. I'm sure it's going to be about fundraiser. That's how.
What course did you take over the summer?
So I am taking, it's called Faith and Finance. And
that sounds interesting. Tell us about that.
So it's absolutely amazing. And again, I have just, I am not even close to being done. But it's essentially about how, some of these ancient books, they talk about money more than anything else, believe it or not, more than even compassion. But guess what? It's not the greed. They're talking about how money, economics is a social justice issue, right? So when it's money is not the problem. It's you who is the problem, what you do with it, right? So it's about how you can really use your money to really benefit everybody and to create a more equitable society. I feel like, I just go back to Gandhi's quote, and it's becoming more and more, relevant. It's like, and he said that we have enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed.
Oh, I love that.
Everybody's needs. What was
Yeah.
the word? Deeds?
So we have enough for everybody's needs, but we don't have enough for everybody's greed.
Fantastic. Now, you know what? It sounds like this will have some implications into politics, because obviously making it equitable for everybody is not easy. It gets you into a political whirlwind. Did it mention anything about that at all, Rumni?
Absolutely, about even how this country, the basis of capitalism, how it came about, and how we're really completely defying everything that was laid out for us as human beings. And that's not something that's mentioned in the churches. That's why people get disillusioned about how some people have so much and some people don't have enough, and which is why I probably feel like I'm so drawn to the Unitarian Church, because it is about equity, it is about equality, it is about social justice, right? And it's again, there shouldn't be a Unitarian Church. They should be all churches, all places of faith. They should be practicing the same thing, right? If you have enough, share the wealth. So I feel like
I'm sorry. I have a question. When you finish these courses, how then do you become like an ordained minister, ordained priest, ordained? I think rabbis go to a Divinity School.
So it's exactly that. So the first 2 years, you have to, no matter what, whether you're going to be a priest, you're going to be a minister, you're going to be a rabbi, you have to take the same classes, the basis, which is amazing, because you learn about the Hebrew Bible, you learn about,
we're all God's children.
Exactly. And that's something we forget, right? Isn't that something we all forget? That's why there's so much strife. I'm this, I'm Muslim, you are not good enough because you're this, your faith is different.
Yeah.
But so the first 2 years, no matter what your chosen path is, you have to take these, these core classes. And then the last year, you kind of, focus more specialized. Whether you want to be an ordained minister, you want to be a chaplain. So like I said, chaplaincy would be a lot of, especially if you're working, for me, it's a hospital chaplain. You could be a military chaplain, you could be a college chaplain, you could be, different kinds of chaplain. But for me, because I will be dealing a lot with grief, there will be a lot of classes that have to do with end of life care and grief and, counseling. So, yeah.
It does sound, though, even though you are describing it as a change, it really sounds like it's similar to what you probably do now, because you're interacting with someone, with young children, with kids, right? And if it's special education, did you say special education?
Yes.
So you have to have that degree of compassion that not everyone might be able to have.
Right, absolutely. And
you have to have that quality already to even be drawn to what you're going towards.
Right, and I actually started out my career, working in a hospital school, and it was Franciscan Children's Hospital in Brighton, and it was the most eye-opening experience for me, because so many students who lived up on the units, they needed some, some education or a little bit of, interaction. So even though they were living up on the units on ventilators, they would come down to the classrooms. And it was my first year as a teacher, just starting my career. And it was one of the hardest and yet one of the most joyful experiences of my life. I remember going up to my director, and telling her I can't last because this is just too sad. I have a little one at home. There's no way. And she said, just give it a little time. I ended up staying there for 7 years. And I feel like, yes, I'm going back to the roots. And I had, I went through the worst of times, like when I never even experienced death, yes, a little bit here and there in my own family, but children dying. And I remember, my kids, like who were my students, and then, they were no more. And it's just, yeah, it's absolutely, those experiences stay with you. And I'm sure they have shaped me. And even, working in a public school, there are kids with unbelievable, difficulties, and families going through awful, awful, awful times. It might not be medical always, but there are lots of, oh my God, obstacles that, kids with special needs and families who have kids with special needs experience. So yes, very similar. Yeah. And then my own experiences, my personal experiences have kind of shaped me towards this path. Yeah.
How did they do? I know you did the special needs. I had so many questions. How do they do special needs teaching remote control? I mean, how is it done?
It was very difficult, Roberta. It was so hard because, especially with me, I did a couple of classes, like I taught, a couple of classes. I did learning disabilities, but also kids with severe disabilities. And that was the hardest because the kids, 15 minutes, you would try to get them to be in front of the screen. They didn't want to be seen. This is not how school is supposed to be. If we as adults are complaining, can you imagine kids whose lives have been completely turned upside down? So it was very, very hard. But then again, you try to do the best you can. It was a situation which was completely out of everybody's control, and which is why it really bothers me. I have to say this when I see on Sharon, on all these the social media sites stating about what should be done and how they need their kids to be in school, and I keep thinking, how selfish do you have to be to only think about your kids who a year is not going to make a difference, right? Yes, maybe in the long
but it will make a difference. It can make a difference.
Yeah, it can make a difference. But when you compare, when you have a kid who's functioning at a normal level, and then you have these kids who are who can't even use Zoom, or it's just hard for them to be in front of a camera. When you compare the two, and you feel like this is just so wrong about what is being said about teachers, about what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing, without ever any of these people ever being in the classroom. So it's aggravating, when you think about how selfish people can be. But I guess I digress, but I have to let
How many people are going to the school, the Divinity School? Do you have any idea how many?
I honestly, I don't know. Things have been so different because we were supposed to have a fellowship week, and that I was so looking forward to. This is right when the pandemic started, and that's when we were supposed to meet the students who are local. There are lots of international students because now we've been Zooming, and there are people from all over the world, from Africa, from France, from India. So it's awesome, but I don't know what the exact numbers are. There seems to be, and the funny thing is that it's not just people who are going to be ministers or who are going to be chaplains. There are also people who want to work in nonprofit, but they want that ethical, that spiritual, they want to incorporate that, lawyers and doctors, but who want to be in Divinity School. Of course, they're not getting their MDiv, they're getting something that's called, I forget what it's called, MTS, Master of Theological Studies. So that's a one-year program, right? But it's because, you are, whatever career you're going to be involved in, you want to incorporate the spirituality or the ethical part. So there are lots of people who are going to Divinity School who are going to be pursuing a very different path. This is very interesting.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
The hospital, oh, sorry, go ahead, Roberta.
I was wondering what the list of courses were. You
Oh
know,
boy. So I actually, honestly,
trying to-
Roberta, I have to sign up. I have to register. I know the first semester they tell you exactly what
Oh.
you need to do. The first, and then you have all
Mhm.
these electives. You can take classes on racism and how to be anti-racist. There's so many. There's so many. And the good thing about BU is that it's a part of the consortium of schools, so I can take classes at Harvard, I can take classes in any of the seminary schools in and around Boston. So that's interesting.
Is there any part of it where you have to travel like to another country or another section, or you have to go to Father Bill's, or you have to go to someplace?
Absolutely.
Do they
Yep,
have stuff?
you do. And that happens starting next summer. So the first semester, you just have to take all classes. And from next semester, you have to do, and I can't remember what it's called, a fellowship or internship, not internship, but honestly, I can't remember. I'm completely blanking off. But yes, you absolutely have to. The practicum, you have to go into hospitals, you have to go into, you can choose to go to another country. There are lots of options,
Really?
especially, yeah, there are lots of options. But absolutely, you have to do the practicum.
I find that so fascinating. I was thinking, Camille, do you have any other questions so we can spend the rest of the time talking about our kids who are fascinating?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, no, I just, it's more of an observation.
Mhm.
Again, when you're dealing with people who themselves are hospitalized or their children or their parents, what could make somebody more vulnerable than facing the possibility of death for themselves or their children? And it's so different than going into a church and becoming a minister. I mean, there is always some of that when you're leading a congregation, but the fact that you've chosen to help people when they're at probably one of the worst moments of their lives is completely
Yeah.
fascinating. And you have to have a combination of great compassion and strength. You have to have strength so that you can bring that strength to them.
That's incredible. It's like you're the other part of a doctor, the conscious part that they expect a doctor to be, who doesn't have the time. It's you're there to give them comfort and hope.
absolutely. And that is, and chaplaincy is part of that holistic treatment. It's holistic support, I should say, not treatment. But definitely, what the doctor and the nurses, that's where where their job ends, that's where the chaplain's job, or the chaplain steps in. It's providing that psychological, that spiritual, that support that you can, or that counseling too. That's really important. I feel you, Roberta, I know you keep talking about my kids, and yes, I love them to death.
Oh, I think they're special.
But no, so my son, my Ronak, he said, "Mom, why would you want to do this? It's so depressing. Why would you do this?" And I listen, honestly, like at your age, at 12 and 18 and 21, like I would think, oh yes, this is so depressing. But guess what? Life experiences, and also I feel like this is nothing. This is not a noble thing. If anything, it's deeply selfish, because I feel like it teaches me about the fragility of life, right?
Yes.
How fragile we are. And when you realize how fragile life is, you become a better person, or hopefully, right? When you know that this is nothing here is forever.
How about the younger one who's who's probably more vocal? He's 11. He's been in our book 2 years.
Yeah, he's 12, yeah.
What is he thinking?
Oh, he thinks, he was very upset with me being 12 that I didn't choose Harvard and I chose BU just because. And I said, listen, for the path that I'm choosing, vanity has no place. And I think hopefully maybe it'll sink in at some point. But he gets it. And honestly, like when I find something, I was telling them the other day, I was reading about the Sabbath, and I was telling them how amazing it is that you are working all tirelessly throughout the week, and then you rest that 1 week. And guess what? There's all the scientific reason behind it, and one of them is not just resting your brain, but also letting the land rest. So you're not making something, right? Overwork, not just your mind, but also the land. So everything is sacred. So, and when I say that, when I, make it simplistic like that, I think it's like, oh yeah, but it sinks in. It sinks in, and I hope that it resonates with him. So, but I just like to share all the little nuggets of wisdom that I am learning. And like I said, this was a course I was like so averse to money, but I'm learning more about how what a resource money can be.
Yeah, but I like that expression, nuggets of wisdom.
Yes.
And Camille, I got to tell you that Rumni was saying, why would you want to talk to me? What am I going to talk about? I told you, it's just flow. We could keep going on and on and on, but at this point, Camille got to wind up.
We're done
Yes,
already?
absolutely.
Yeah,
We've
gotta
done,
get that
we've
winding
completed
up.
this half hour already. Are you serious?
Almost a half hour. By the time
Wow.
we're through winding up, it will be
Oh.
a half hour.
Oh, this has
Oh,
been
and
great.
there's Becca. Becca's just
Yeah.
came on. Becca's our operation manager, and she loves to be part of it. So, because she's going to write the newsletter and say wonderful things about you.
Thank you, Becca.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I missed like the last 5 minutes. My computer just crashed.
Oh no.
So-
That's okay. We're
to reboot
closing
it.
now.
But
Okay.
it was
Alright.
excellent. That was so good. I could listen to
Yeah,
you
we
talk
were still
about this all day. I'm
taping.
fascinated.
I have to tell you, I have to tell you that it's all because of Roberta's persistence. I can't tell you how many times I've said, no, I said, what do I have to share? I have nothing to share. She kept saying, no, you do, you do. So I said,
You
what?
do,
To get
definitely.
you off my back, I'll do it.
Yeah, I got her off. You got me off her back now.
Yes,
Wonderful.
thank you,
just
thank
so
you.
wonderful. I mean,
was
it's
really good.
so
Yeah.
wonderful, this. Okay, Camille.
All right. Thank
Camille.
you so
Oh,
much
nice seeing you,
for being here.
Thank you.
It's such a gift that you're sharing with others, and it sounds fascinating. I'd love to hear more about it as you go forward with this.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for being here.
Yeah,
And thank you to our viewers. This is quite enlightening. And of course, if you'd like to hear more, let us know and we'll make sure that we get your request over to Rumni. Do let us know if you have any other questions or any other thoughts about topics we could have on this show, because especially during this COVID-19 crisis, because remember, this is your show, the law, your money, and you.
You.